Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on another one of our segments on our Spotlight on Businesses here in Pagosa Springs. We are outside here at the Chamber of Commerce only because this was a really difficult business to video, because when you are up in the air, they just don't have internet up there. And that's the whole thing with this show, is I've got to have internet in order to record it. So I had no internet up in the sky. So we had to find a location to do this. We chose the chamber, and it's not quite as effective as if we were up there, but maybe you can guess why I'm choosing this business and what this business is. And if you are up in the sky, obviously we are in a hot air balloon. So with us today, we do have not only, as I think, a very unique business here in Pagosa Springs, because not only is that type of business unique, it's very specialized, but this is also a legacy business. So a multi-generational business taken over from the youth, from their parents. And so we are excited today to have with us Rocky Mountain Balloon Adventures. So we are here with the current owner, Austin Marchand. And so let's switch over and see. There is Austin. So with your beautiful hot air balloon on the side of your truck. So let's just do a little bit of adjustment there. There you go, Austin. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Great. Well, obviously, this is your beautiful balloon that we see so many mornings here in Pagosa Springs. And not only often is there one balloon, but you have two balloons. Is that correct?
That is, yeah. So I have myself and then my pilot, Sean, who also flies for me.
Awesome. So we see this, obviously everybody sees it up in the air, but they don't usually get the process. Obviously, you have this lovely van or truck that you can put your balloon or balloons in. But we see you, so many mornings, especially in the summer. Tell us a little bit about ballooning. It's not your typical time of day that you get up and go to work and close for the day. Tell us a little bit about your schedule for when you have a balloon ride in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're pretty lucky that we just get to work in the morning here in Pagosa. We start about 7 a.m. and we're typically done flying and working about 10 a.m., which is great being a business owner here in Pagosa, because we get to enjoy all the outdoor activities that this wonderful place has to offer. So definitely not your conventional schedule. I'd say the toughest part is that it's every single day.
Sure.
Waking up 5 a.m., 7 days a week. Don't get much time off in the summertime. Just like most businesses around here, you gotta work in the summertime to hopefully make it through the wintertime. It's just super quiet around here.
So as we look at your van, or the cargo van, or what do you call it?
This is the chase vehicle.
Chase vehicle. Okay. We see the website on there and the phone number. Is that usually how most people get in touch with you? Do you work through our lodging industries? How do you get business here in Pagosa Springs?
Yeah, normally the best way to advertise this is people just see the balloon flying in the morning, and then they call me up. They just go on Google and look us up and give me a call and say, I saw the balloon flying, I want to do that tomorrow. And so we do work with the Springs and Wyndham and different lodgers around town. But mainly just seeing the balloon in the air helps us advertise.
And really, between the two balloons, you can only do one flight in each balloon a day, correct?
Just one flight a day.
Okay.
The morning is when the weather is most favorable for a flight.
Sure. Sure. So, I will say you're very young. You're a young business owner, which is wonderful here in Pagosa Springs.
Yeah.
But you took this business over from your father, who flew for many, many years, and obviously was one of the conceptual and actual worker bees with the Colorfest Balloon Rally. Yeah. Tell us, at what point in time, what point in time did you, as a young person, did you always fly with your dad? How did you get interested in ballooning?
Yeah, so I've always been around hot air balloons my entire life. And, when I was a kid, I'd like to go out. I didn't have much interest in flying or anything like that. When I turned 18, I was out of high school, wasn't doing much, had no interest in college. My dad was wanting to retire. And so we kind of just sat down and had the conversation that it was time for me to get to work and work on my pilot's license and start learning how to run the company and everything. Yeah, but I've been flying since I was a newborn baby in these things. My dad started this in 1986, so I'm definitely very familiar with how hot air balloons work and operate, and since I've been doing it my whole life.
Did you feel that once you did go get your pilot's license, it was easier for you since you'd been around? But there's so much technical knowledge to becoming a hot air balloon pilot.
There is, yeah. And that did help because I was familiar with the system and had watched my dad fly these all his life. So that definitely helped with the training. And, learning from him, he's flown here so much, it was pretty easy to just learn from him.
Do you I know you do a lot of other rallies around Colorado and maybe nearby states.
Yeah.
Weather is such a huge component. Do you find that Pagosa has pretty standard weather patterns that you get used to and know as a pilot? And then how does that compare with when you fly somewhere else? How aware do you have to be? I mean, obviously you have to be very aware of the weather, but as a pilot, maybe you've never flown there before. Does your sense of caution go up? I mean, tell us about flying.
It can definitely be more intense in new places, but that also brings the fun back into it, I think, because Pagosa, I'm so used to flying here, it's just such second nature to me. And we also have such favorable weather here for ballooning. We can fly 300 days a year here, no problem. Wow. That's very rare. Other places like Albuquerque might get bad, but most places in the U.S. it's too windy and stormy and stuff for them to be able to fly that often. But new places are definitely exciting, and we do watch the weather, and luckily I can take tips from the local pilots over there and kind of do what they do.
Well, and you're so instrumental in helping us out during our balloon rallies here, advising the pilots weather and where to go and where to land and where to take off and where the prevailing winds are. So we as the chamber are very grateful to you for helping us out with all the visiting pilots as well.
And most people, if I'm not flying, they probably rethink their decision to fly. When we were in Aspen a couple weekends ago, Bruce Wood, who owns that company, wasn't flying, and everybody said, nope, we're not flying either if he's not flying.
Sure.
So kind of the same situation. He knows his valley best.
So, Austin, again, you talked a little bit about taking the business over. About how old were you when you actually took the business over?
Yeah, so I took over fully about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So in 2019 is when my dad started stepping back and I started running the business full time.
Okay. Yeah. Now, how was that being young and a new business owner? Did you have to did it come second nature? Or did you have a few surprises in your life?
It definitely took some growing up, because I was only 21 or 22 at the time. And so we had the first year and then COVID hit and we had to rechange the whole business plan and had to hope that people would still come to Pagosa and support the business and everything. So it's definitely stressful coming in as a new business owner and dealing with all that turmoil and stuff.
But you made it through.
Yeah, we made it through.
And here you are and still flying, and we see you almost every morning flying. Yeah. Your business, you cater a lot to the tourism community. I would say that would be, 90% of your business or more.
Yeah.
So we know that that's an impact on the peaks and valleys of how tourism comes into Pagosa.
Yeah.
But more than that, again, your business is also weather contingent. So you may have a lot of people come in, but weather changes. How do you as a business owner, how do you plan for that? How have you been able to accommodate those factors in your business?
Yeah, so the weather is one thing we don't get to control in ballooning. So if you're not able to reschedule, we just have to give them their money back. It wouldn't be right to take their money on a weather cancellation. So sometimes they reschedule and sometimes they just get their money back and hopefully come back next year when the weather is good. So yeah, definitely important to watch the weather and make sure it's safe for us to fly.
So how do you as a business owner budget for that or plan for that? Because certainly there are peaks and valleys. It's great when you fly every day in the summer, but then here comes winter.
Yeah.
And weather then becomes even more of an impact. How do you adjust for those peaks and valleys?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is just not to spend people's money until after they fly. Just to make sure you don't spend all the money and go, oh, now I got to give them all their money back. So my booking platform takes a retainer and holds on to it until after their flying date. And so that makes it easy. But we just got to plan, like most businesses, save your money in the summertime and wait till next year when the tourists come back.
Sure. So, as a business owner and new with the business being here for many, many years, but being a fairly new business owner, do you have any words of wisdom for someone? I'm not sure how many people want to come in. Is another company, but how many people want to do a balloon company, but a tourism related business? Do you have any words of wisdom for someone who may want to come in and open a business?
Yeah. So I'm pretty lucky that my dad was able to start this here and pass it along to me and kind of guide me. And if I wouldn't have listened to him, I probably wouldn't have been in such good shape that I am. So, being young, sometimes you don't want to listen to what your parents have to say, but I think their advice is good. So listen to your parents.
Well, your father was a successful businessman as well, so I'm glad you listened to him.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, anything else you'd like to mention about Rocky Mountain Balloon Adventures or your business before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, we do flights daily, and we are open year-round. Most people think we close down for the winter, but we are open and flying. It just depends on what the crazy weather does here in the wintertime. Sometimes it'll snow every day, and sometimes it'll be perfectly sunny and flyable.
Great. Okay. Well, just remember, you can, if you're local, it would be a wonderful opportunity to, as you can see with the picture behind us, that the vistas here around Pagosa Springs are absolutely stunning between the lakes and the mountains. And like you said, the different weather times of year. It's just beautiful. I've flown in winter and it is spectacular here to see
gorgeous.
to see this. So
it's cold but gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on taking over this business and being one of our new young business owners here in Pagosa Springs. We love the legacy component of that, and we wish you much success in the upcoming years.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again next week on another segment of our Spotlight on Businesses here in Pagosa Springs. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.